So let's get right into it right now. Let's get into what Matthew Stafford is never going to say for himself that absolutely is true. Look, what do we know for sure about Matthew Stafford? We know that he's a pretty good dude, right? We know that he is a humble player. We know that he is not somebody that brings a lot of attention to himself, that he's a team player. That's great news. These are all the things you want from your quarterback. We also had some questions about what sort of football player is he? Coming into this season, there were a lot of questions about Matthew Stafford. There were a lot of things that we did not know for sure, that we could guess at, that we could take our best shot at, but we didn't have a clear and definitive answer. And the number one question about those things was, is he a championship caliber quarterback? Is he good enough to be the quarterback on a team that goes and wins the Super Bowl? Is he good enough to be a guy that when your team is behind in the fourth quarter and go get you what needs to be gotten to win that title? And we don't know, because doing it occasionally in Detroit doesn't really matter. Doing it occasionally on a team that's going to win 4 games, 7 games, maybe if you have a great season, you win 8 or 9. Does that count the same as, hey, it's the fourth quarter of a playoff game. Can you drive down the field with 1 timeout, minute and a half to go, and punch it in the end zone? We didn't know. We didn't know. He did. He knew, because at the end of 12 years in Detroit, he decided, you know what? I've had enough. I can't. And he didn't do it in a way that was explosive. He didn't do it in a way that was incendiary. He didn't burn the organization to the ground. He didn't say anything about his teammates. He didn't say anything about the city. It was none of those things. It was about as tactful and clean exit as you're going to find anywhere. And what he did is he went to the organization and said, listen, I want to go play somewhere where I have a chance to win. I want to go play somewhere where I can answer the question, am I good enough to be a championship quarterback? And they accommodated him. And the Rams were the perfect fit. And like we've talked about a lot, there was the fortuitous meeting between Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay in Cabo last summer, or last winter, I guess it was. And they decided, you know what? I like you. You like me. Why don't we go play a little football together and see what happens? So he comes to Los Angeles, and they send Jared Goff to Detroit. A couple of first-round draft picks going the other way. The Rams continue to go all in the way that they have. And the question is, okay, let's see. What will he look like when you give him a basic level of competency around him? Because think about what it was in Detroit. It was a never-ending cycle of head coaches, most of them not very good. It was a never-ending cycle of general managers. It was a cycle of draft picks that were not going to be the pieces that he needed to go win a championship. Basically, they were just lionsing all over him. I don't know if that's a word or not, but it's a word that I want to coin at this point. They lionsed him. They went all around and did all the things that the Lions do that have been the backbone of more or less 50 years of them shooting themselves in the foot. Now, they picked Matthew Stafford, number 1 out of Georgia a few years ago, and it was the right pick at the right time and all that. But it wasn't enough. It's football, right? You need a whole bunch of pieces around you. So he comes to L.A., and he goes 1 for 1. 1 for 1. The second he's out of Detroit, the very first season he is de-Lionsed, he goes and wins the Super Bowl. 1 for 1. And here's what he's never going to tell you. Here's what he will never, ever say out loud to anybody that's probably not his wife and his very closest friends. And maybe not even to them, because he's not this sort of guy. But I'm going to say it. Told you it wasn't me. I told you it wasn't me. I was not the problem in Detroit. All I needed was somebody that functioned like a real football team. I needed a coach that knew what my skill set was. I needed to have a couple of players around me that were on my level. I needed to have a basic foundation of competency, and I can go do what Aaron Rodgers can do, what all of these other guys that have been through Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and all of these players that have been really, really good quarterbacks for years and years in this league. I just give me some people. Lamar Jackson might be the perfect example. Lamar Jackson goes to Baltimore. Baltimore is a competent organization. Baltimore runs well. They draft good players. They don't turn the head coach over and over again. John Harbaugh's been there a million years. And they take a guy late in the back of the first round, last pick in the first round, and turn him into an MVP. Turn him into a guy that I think everybody understands. Lamar Jackson's a really dangerous guy. Lamar Jackson is not the problem in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson is the guy that is good enough to go do it. If Lamar Jackson goes to Detroit, Are you kidding me? If Matthew Stafford lands in Baltimore, are you kidding me? But because those two guys went to different spots, their careers are totally. One guy goes and wins an MVP like that. The other guy spends a dozen years in a place looking around saying, it ain't me. Not saying it out loud, but the second he gets to LA, they win a championship. The second he gets to LA, he takes them on 3 game-winning drives in the postseason. In Tampa, tie game, 42 seconds to go, drive the field, kick a field goal, win the game. In the NFC Championship game against San Francisco, down 10 points in the fourth quarter, win the game. 3 scoring drives in the fourth quarter, win the game. Go to the Super Bowl in your first year. Down late by 4 points in the fourth quarter, inside of 2 minutes, drive the field, score a touchdown, win the Super Bowl. By the way, I'm in there in the middle of that. I'm going to throw a no-look pass over the middle to the offensive player of the year who's running the perfect route. I'm going to look off the linebacker perfectly to get him to take one step to his left, and then I'm going to whistle it past his right ear. We're going to get a first down. We're going to keep that drive moving. There aren't 5 guys in the world that make that pass. There's not a coach. There's not a team. There's not anybody that puts him in a position like that the way that the Rams just did it. I told you it wasn't me. He will never say it out loud, but think about what's going through his head. The very second he's away from Detroit, the Lions, that team, that culture of losing, of failure, of if we just get to 500, it's a successful season. If we get into the playoffs, oh my goodness, it's like winning a Super Bowl. The goal isn't to win the Super Bowl in Detroit. The goal is not to put your players in a position to become legends. You know, if you're 1 in a billion like Barry Sanders or Megatron, sure, you can go do it, but you can't do it yourself. You can't go win as a team by yourself. 1 for 1 in Los Angeles. 1 for 1. Think about it. Think if Aaron Rodgers is in Detroit and Matthew Stafford is in Green Bay. How different do those two guys' careers look? His entire legacy changed a couple of days ago in SoFi Stadium, because now it's not, he puts up a lot of big numbers and occasionally he'll have a game and he'll shock you and they'll beat somebody good, but I don't know. Really, in 7-10 every year, or 6-10 before they went to 7, I don't know. Now, how about 12-5 and I win 3 playoff games behind or tied in the fourth quarter, and it's because of me? How about that? How about 1 for 1? How does that sound? Think about the difference in his career. Think about the difference in his legacy. And look, who knows what's happening next, right? The Rams have a lot of things that they got to get figured out moving forward. He's probably got some things that he wants to figure out in his career moving forward. But think about what if he goes again? What if instead of it being 1 for 1 in LA, what if it's 1 for 4, but he goes one more time? What if it's 2 for 6 and he wins another one? What are we talking about now? You're talking about one of the great players of his generation. And if he doesn't leave Detroit, it never happens. So much of this is good luck. So much of this is good fortune and how these things need to break your way to get it done. Just an extraordinary night for him. And he will never, ever say it. But I guarantee you he's thinking it. It wasn't me. I told you that all I needed was people around me that can function at an NFL level and I can go get some stuff done. And he absolutely did.